Our organisation is called MESCH, an anagram for Medical and Educational Sustainable Community Help. The name arose from an organisational need to facilitate projects which reflected our long-term ideas on overseas aid. In short, doing things for people is great. Teaching them how to do it is better. Respecting people by working or meshing with existing local systems shows you trust them. They feel more comfortable, learn new ideas faster, and continuity is more certain. The ability to impact on the two key areas of health and education brings enormous benefits. We went to DaLat, Vietnam for the first time in 2009. This year we were certainly better equipped, mentally and materially. Most of our gear was donated or loaned. This girl's mum was attempting to use bandages for her burn scars. They were uncomfortable and kept falling off. An Australian company gave her a suit and it's really helping. The children in the blind school at Con Dieu love playing music. Their faces lit up when they felt and played these new guitars.
Happy birthday.
Our Newcastle sponsors also helped us raise enough money so we could buy things for the school and hospital, all bought in Vietnam for a fraction of the Australian price. Thanks to the generosity of Vietnam Air, we left Australia with 19 bags of gear. Equipment handover is a bit like Christmas.
Harry Potter?
It has no power, bad luck.
We were also able to pay for the family's medical costs at the hospital. We don't speak Vietnamese, and very few Vietnamese, even doctors, speak English. This year, Phu and Yep, Loy and Lena volunteered to help with the schools, and Hoi and Lily at the hospital. It takes a long time and a lot of patience from everyone to make sure everything is understood. Getting the trust of Dr. He, Director of Lam Dong Hospital, has made our trips to DaLat much easier. About a week before we arrived, Dr. Tien, the Director of Paediatrics, emails us a list with the names and ages of the children he thinks might need help. Many live in quite remote areas, but somehow slowly turn up. Word of mouth means more drop in, so the list gets longer. The handouts on surgical conditions that Lily and I had prepared really helped. We saw 105 children and their families. I don't know how Tien coped with this, but sometimes I didn't. When making up an operating list, you ask yourself a few questions like, is there enough time? This is Dr. Hung, the chief anaesthetist, showing Vietnamese for in your dreams. Also, is there enough staff? What was that? Well, one Monday, one of the nurses got married, so theatre closed for the morning and we all went to the wedding. Same, but wildly different. Better screening at local hospital level would avoid families making an unnecessary trip and help us to prepare better. This girl has a huge cyst on her chest wall. Pretty simple to treat by an injection, if only we'd known to bring it. We knew from Lena, one of the interpreters for the education group, that people in her ethnic minority village had poor medical access. This is a complex political situation. However, since screening only takes a few days, we asked Dr. He if we could bring experienced Newcastle GPs to do both it and provide healthcare for the village. He agreed to get the local police to permit the seemingly impossible, and in 2011 we will have better screening and better care for Lena's village. We eventually operated on 47 of the 105 children. Teaching and sharing ideas worked well for everyone. Sometimes we'd use anatomy books to explain what had happened or what we were going to do. It was great that everyone kept asking questions until they understood. With so much sharing going on, sometimes it got a bit noisy. Theatre finishes at 4:30, but we were often there much later than that. Sometimes I'd take a quick nap. Some unkind people might say it had something to do with rice wine. Postoperative ward rounds are fascinating. There's no such thing as privacy, and everyone, including people wandering around the corridor, gathers round to hear what's been said, even if their child had a completely different procedure. No one seemed to mind.
Our group consisted of Stephanie, Jill and myself. I'd been communicating with Mr. Trong since our last visit. He was keen for us to continue teaching English, as it greatly improves the students' employment prospects. The Kwon Residential Blind School has a reputation for training masseurs and musicians, both standard occupations for the blind in Vietnam. The conditions at the school are still very poor. We're a bit sceptical about how well the new government multi-level building will work for visually impaired people. Having so many committed and friendly interpreters allowed us to split into 3 groups. Engaging people of different ages and abilities required a wide range of activities.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5. Head and shoulders, knee and
good. Snake.
Snake.
Good. He's got a good Australian accent.
Simon says, put your hands on your head. Touch your head.
As the news of our visit spread, our groups grew. Each day ended with everyone singing in both Vietnamese and English. By the end of our visit, most of our students could meet and greet.
I live in DaLat.
Adults could identify common items and have simple conversations, for example, about what they had for breakfast. It was great seeing their growth in confidence over the 2 weeks. Their friendship and trust is very humbling. Lily, an interpreter for the medical team, introduced us to 2 other schools. One had 15 visually impaired boys with difficult behavioural problems. We spent each morning with them, playing games and sharing songs. Play-Doh was a huge hit. Our presence gave their 2 amazing nuns much needed relief time. The other was a boarding school catering for 50, mostly ethnic minority children. Transport and other costs would normally prevent them from going to school. Conditions were poor and the buildings in need of some repair. We encouraged wish lists from each school. Going to the markets takes on a whole new meaning when the list includes
We'd been a bit worried we were kidding ourselves about sustainable skills last year, but the MESCH formula works. In the hospital, the local surgeons had been continuing to do the procedures we'd taught last year. When we increased the complexity, they occasionally asked for help. Having parents present at induction was now absolutely routine, a practice that last year hadn't even been considered, and is still not done in major teaching hospitals in Ho Chi Minh City.
The people at the Kwon Blind School clearly want to learn English. They'd remembered some of the songs and phrases from our previous visit and taped the sessions to practice after we left. By engaging local interpreters, we introduced them to a need in their own community. Loy has responded by continuing the lessons every Saturday afternoon, Our local interpreters also improve their own English speaking skills.
Dr. He understands the potential of this project and wants us to expand it, in the first instance by bringing other experts in orthopaedics, laparoscopy and biomed technology.
Mr. Trong would like us to return more often. English is a hard language to learn, and access to English-speaking tutors is problematic, and for them, impossible. He believes English is necessary to give them a chance to improve the quality of their lives.
We'd like to thank the children, the hospital doc who helped the children feel safe, here standing guard in recovery, all our friends at the hospital, and the blind school, and the Australian people who continue to help us. The Vietnamese are a passionate and resilient people, often living in substandard accommodation in rural communities, drying their rice by the side of the road and dealing with an impossibly complex infrastructure.
You go away. Yeah. When you go away here, you leave here one symbol.
One symbol?
Yes.
Yes?
Well, I call John Shippo. Every time when you say okay, yes. A lot of people imitate you.
We've made friends and a promising start in DaLat, and we'd like to keep going.